Well, tonight, part 3 of our series focusing on Idaho's climate. KPVI News that works for you journalist Cesar Cornejo gives us a look at what climate change means for the future of the Gem State.
Previously, we looked at the climate of eastern Idaho and the changes observed so far. We saw that our mountains are experiencing rising snow lines and year-to-year variability that leads to issues with water storage. Today, we focus on the future effects of climate change to eastern Idaho.
My perspective as a climatologist is that climate, by and large, determines a lot of the cultural elements that sort of define a region.
Dr. John Abatzoglou mentions how climate influences a region culturally and what kind of impacts climate change would have on eastern Idaho's society.
And so that sort of what are the worst case scenarios depends a little bit on your predisposition to impacts. I think for the Northwest, though, and Idaho included, right, it's the reduction in water availability, the likes of which we haven't seen recently. So it's thinking about the future where we're going to have prolonged droughts, where the snowpack is going to melt out that much earlier.
But drought won't be the only thing that would affect us in eastern Idaho.
There's no specific studies that can attribute a specific event to climate change, but there are studies that suggest that extreme weather and continued extremes are attributed to climate change. So more extremes in terms of heavy precipitation events, more drought on the opposite end of the spectrum, more heat waves, and more cold snaps. So all of the above.
Extremes that can affect our precipitation and water storage. A lack of water in the state can impact the natural resource industry, which can hurt the pockets of many Idaho families.
The size of that industry sector that is what we call natural resources economics, i.e. those economic activities that very strongly depend on climate and weather. So agriculture, which we've been discussing, and just all the table shows or the graph shows is how big that industry is. And millions to billions across the 3 Northwest states.
Industries included would be agriculture, outdoor recreation, and even forest management. During drought years, adding excessive heat can not only lead to water shortages for the natural resources industry, but also increase fire weather conditions. And as many have seen in Idaho, this can really change our landscape for years. Dr. Sean Parks, research ecologist for the U.S. Forest Service, tells us this change can become more permanent in a warming climate.
We're seeing warming, right? And so when we have warming, 2 things happen. First of all, we have an increased prevalence in high severity or stand replacing fire. And we also have situations in which the seedlings that were there have a more difficult time establishing and surviving. And so if the seedlings can't establish and survive, then we end up seeing, and we expect to see, changes in forest type.
Turning lands that were previously forests into grass and shrublands. This could again impact outdoor recreation, not only hiking, but recreational and subsistence hunting.
We're seeing the bigger fires, which are changing a lot of the recreation opportunities, both in terms of backpacking through forests versus backpacking through burned areas, changes people's enjoyment of the scenery to some extent. So with more wildfires comes more brush, which is great habitat for a number of ungulates like elk and deer, and their winters will be less challenging, which is usually the season that we lose a lot of them. So it might mean that there's not only more opportunity for hunting, but a much greater need for hunting to keep those populations in check.
And while this change may not seem terrible for hunters, we must keep in mind that with greater prey populations also means an increase in their predators, posing a risk for livestock. And while not all changes may be bad in a warming climate, they do come with consequences that can affect thousands of Idahoans, from agriculture to food processing and storage, forestry and forest management to outdoor recreation and the guide industry. These are our neighbors, our friends, our family that could be impacted down the road in a warming and changing climate. In the newsroom, meteorologist Cesar Cornejo. Back to you, Matt and Missy.